All right, here we go on a Sunday morning in Las Vegas. Just after 8 o'clock, I'm Bryan Feldman, and this is Outta Line. We're here same time every week. Fox Sports Radio, 98.9 FM and 1340 AM, flagship of the Vegas Golden Knights. Also here, co-host Caleb Herring, the last UNLV quarterback to lead the Rebels to a bowl game. Sure. Protege of Coach Bobby Houck now in Montana.
God, why? It's been like almost a month and we've gone
right
off
the
gate. You're gonna do that
right off the get go. Let's get him. Listen, producer Chris Magnum Chapman also here. You hear him all over Vegas Golden Knights Radio and now part of Raider Nation Radio and everything else that's going on here at Lotus Broadcasting. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And at home in Pahrump in self-quarantine, awaiting COVID-19 test results and suffering from, all I can say is a double eye infection. The guy responsible to all of today's social media questions, so he'll still be taking those way over in Pahrump. Comments and everything else. He's our intern and social media director. Nobody beats the Wiz. The one and only Wiz Spencer Ostrovsky.
He lives in Pahrump?
He lives in Pahrump.
Well, that explains a lot.
I did not know that.
Is that you ought to see his basketball game. I think you both would be pretty impressed and surprised.
I'm not.
Nobody impresses me on the basketball court.
Nobody does? Not even the Wiz?
I saw Michael Jordan for the first time. I was like,
oh, my Lord. Here we go.
I'm a competitor. Ultimate basketball competitor. I don't want to hear it.
You're talking about the GOAT and saying you weren't impressed by the GOAT in NBA history.
That's moderately impressed. I was like, that's impressed.
It wasn't the shoes?
I was barely impressed.
Was it the shoes?
I think it was the shoes.
Because you own some Jordans, don't you? I don't know anybody who doesn't own at least or hasn't owned one pair of Air Jordans their life.
I don't think Bill Gates owns Jordans. I would go out on a limb and say Bill Gates doesn't own
maybe he doesn't own a pair of Jordans
because he just has too much money to care. I think Bill Gates
has a chip inserted in Michael Jordan.
Bill Gates has Jordans that nobody even knows exist.
Right. Jordan. He's like, Jordan, draw me some shoes.
Yeah. Like, that's how it works.
He doesn't even call him Jordan. He call him Mike's shoes.
Yo, Mike.
I got some of Mike's shoes on.
Yeah. But I think everyone wants to be like Bill, right?
Well, right now you probably do.
Yeah,
this guy has the vaccines patented already.
He has the button to the world.
This guy is the leader of the world. Like, you talk about the president and kings and like Putin.
Bill
this
Gates.
guy, he just laughs at their. He's like,
yeah.
I know I run this.
Yeah.
What's amazing is I don't think he graduated college.
No, he dropped out.
Same with Steve Jobs.
He went to Michigan, I want to say.
Something.
University of Michigan.
Him and like Steve Jobs.
He only went because they had like the one of the most brand new computing systems at the University of Michigan, and he wanted to do it.
They were very technologically advanced
so at the time.
Yeah,
so he went there on purpose to do that. And once he learned how to code and he mastered coding, he was like, I don't need this anymore. Well, and he wouldn't start working.
Now he doesn't need anything anymore. Hey, listen, the show is also streaming live on the LV Sports Network, and normally you can see us on Facebook, on StreamYard, on YouTube. Not today. The Wiz is down, and so is our system. So it's strictly audio today, but the podcast will be available on the LV Sports Network website afterwards and our website as well. And we'll try to get something up on Facebook for you also, so you can check that out. Also, follow the show on Instagram and Twitter. That's at Ottaline on Fox LV. That's OUTTALINE on Fox LV. And since the show is live, again, your calls are welcome. The Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio line is 702-876-1340.
Hi, this is Bubby, and it's time for What's on Tap.
Yeah. What's on Tap, sponsored by title sponsor Residential Bancorp. Whether purchasing a new home or refinancing the home you already own, Residential Bancorp is the company to turn to for all of your home financing needs. Residential Bancorp, funding America one neighborhood at a time. On Tap, one FBS conference has officially shut down fall sports. The Vegas Golden Knights are number one in the West. 15 of the 16 playoff seeds have been determined in the NBA and in the NHL. NHL's final playoff pairing will be decided this evening in what should be a hell of a game between Columbus and Toronto. If you're not looking forward to that game, you're not a hockey fan, especially if you has followed the first four games. They've mirrored image each other in reverse, and we'll explain that in a little bit. I'm sure Magnum probably was pretty excited about that. Really, really great series, as was the game yesterday against the Vegas Golden Knights and what they've done. Hey, we got two great guests today. Former Raider and Super Bowl hero Rod Martin will be joining the show. And if you haven't heard of Rod Martin, go ahead and Google him. He did something in a Super Bowl once that has only been done that one time to this over 50 Super Bowls played. And what he did is going to be really hard to ever break. I think it's something that might be tieable, but I don't know how you break it. You'd have to average an interception a quarter to break it in the Super Bowl, put it that way. That'll be tough. Also here is a guy named Justin Lowe. He is the founder of a product called Finson Light that is considered to be one of the most trusted sources for COVID-19 sterilization in the country. Well, how does it relate to sports? We'll talk about that in a little bit. Also, we're going to be talking about some Major League Baseball. They have a COVID-19 problem more than any of the other sports, and why wouldn't they? They're not in a bubble. It makes sense. Listen, if you're looking to buy a home or to refinance the home you're currently own, choose a company you can trust. Residential Bancorp, funding America one neighborhood at a time.
Fact this. If you don't like the facts, take your ass back to bed. Fact this.
Yeah, it's a fact. The Mid-American Conference, made up of a dozen colleges in 5 states, has become the first FBS conference to cancel fall sports in 2020. And you got that sound, Mags?
I'm announcing that by a unanimous vote of the Mid-American Conference's Council of Presidents meeting earlier today, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic across the United States and around the world and its effect on student athletes, the conference will postpone the fall seasons in the sports of men's and women's cross country, field hockey, football, men's and women's soccer, and women's volleyball. Clearly, we are charting a conservative path, and it is one that has been recommended by our medical advisory group. There are simply too many unknowns for us to put our student athletes in situations that are not clearly understood. We have traditionally been a leader on student athlete well-being issues. This has not been an easy decision, but for the Mid-American Conference, it is the right decision.
This, Caleb, could very well mean the end of the 2020 college football season, but you don't seem to think so.
I don't. I don't think there's hope that college football will be played this season. I think that this is, more importantly to me, a sign of the potential abolishment of the NCAA as an organization, as the governing body of college sports. And it's because the conferences have now taken it upon themselves to make decisions, crucial decisions on the future of their programs. And I think it's a realistic blueprint that this can happen in normal times. This could become the new norm, where conferences make decisions on what the conferences are going to do.
How do you get a national championship though when you have conferences bowing out of a season?
And again, I'm not saying that.
Is there an asterisk next to you?
I'm not saying that the NCAA or the system of playing other conferences to declare a champion won't happen again. But I'm saying that there's a potential that the teams will finally, or the conferences will realize, we don't need the NCAA to tell us what to do and to penalize us and to fine us and to regulate us in this way. We can have our own sustainability as individual conferences. And I think the players then have also decided, and we're going to talk about it later, the NCAA players in the Pac-12 and in the Big Ten who are saying we're going to stand up. And one of their things is we don't care about what the NCAA has to say. We have enough in the Pac-12 to support ourselves. We can do this without that governing body, which in some ways is true. The NCAA is one of the most unnecessary things that we have in sports, like that organization, because of the things that they prohibit. But I think that this pandemic could give you a blueprint to say, okay, this is how it could work without the NCAA telling us what to do. And we could have, like the SEC, I'm sure the SEC and the Pac-12 had no problem, because we already kind of see it, where the group of 5 teams don't really get a chance at the national championship regardless of what they do. So there's really no incentive for them to be a part of the NCAA, because it doesn't help them. It doesn't expand their platform. There's already these groups of, the markets that you're in, where the Pac-12 has their market, the SEC has their market. You're going to sell out stadiums. You're going to have your viewership on TV. But if you're just doing it within your own group, then you don't have to contribute to a larger group. And I see the appeal for certain conferences to say we don't need to be in NCAA, and this will give us a blueprint to see how we can complete a season.
Going to be interesting. The the Big Ten really, they have, they're really have the similar geographic footprint as the Mid-American Conference as far as the location goes. So you would think they're going to be considered. And I know, they've got a new commissioner in Kevin Warren who wants to start out on the right foot, and I believe that they're going to talk really soon. They have to make a decision, but the talk is the Pac-12 and the Big Ten are going to follow suit.
I don't think they will.
You don't.
But here's the thing that we're not talking about in this discussion. John Steinbrecher, who is the commissioner of the MAC, I don't doubt him for one bit.
Yeah.
When he talks about health concerns for players, I feel like absolutely that's a legitimate concern. Remember, the MAC was, I believe, the first conference, not to cancel their tournament, but the first conference to say no fans in our conference tournament.
Right.
But here's the thing that we didn't mention. The MAC had 11 games scheduled against Big Ten opponents where they were going to make $11 million in those games. All those games were canceled when the Big Ten canceled out-of-conference games. So the schools were set to lose $11 million. Let's add on to that. There were only 5 other, quote, money games remaining for MAC schools out of however many games they were scheduled to play. So you can't realistically divvy up that pie of 5 money games through I believe there's 12 teams in the MAC?
Yeah.
So they were going to lose a ton of money because these games, like we laugh about it, right? Like it's horrible to watch Alabama play like not Middleton, when they play like Samford.
Yeah.
Right. They're not even a
that
D1
game for Sanford. The money is
for 4 years.
Oh,
it funds their, like when Miami used to play like Florida A&M. Like Miami would win like 66-10, but for Florida A&M, Rattlers, go Rattlers.
That's a W.
That was
the
financially,
Super Bowl, man.
Yeah. I mean the financial windfall from playing Miami in Miami and getting your asses kicked. It funded your entire athletic department. So when you are a MAC school, and let's be honest, we know because we cover UNLV that UNLV does not make a ton of money in the athletic department.
Yeah.
In fact, I think there's a lot of years where they actually lose money. But they play games. We joke about them being body bag games, right? Like I that's the joke. I think in these times it's probably not appropriate to say that, but that's how we used to call them. Because you would go and you would get your ass kicked, and then they would give you a check and say, "Oh, well, thanks for showing up, guys. Here's $1 million." So
I've been a part of those. I've been a part of those games.
Yeah, who did you guys play?
It was Wisconsin,
Minnesota.
Twice. Minnesota wasn't really an ass. We competed with them, but it was
no.
Wisconsin.
But I'm saying it's a big money game for you guys.
It is. But Wisconsin was one of those games where it's like we have no business playing this team, but we are clearly getting paid for this. West Virginia was also.
I remember that game,
and it was like, what are we doing here?
And here's the funny thing:
Ohio State.
I wasn't there.
You
for
weren't
that,
there, but I mean,
UNLV. Has games like that on there. We're Southern Utah.
It was Southern Utah. It's Howard,
Northern Arizona.
Jackson State.
No
I mean,
doubt.
we're paying. You pay for these. It's a box.
I think games like that, I think games like that, realistically, as good as they are for the revenue of the university, they can hurt the program because the confidence. A guy like Rodgers.
It's one thing. So it's one thing
playing
to say,
Ohio State. You come out of there and you're having nightmares.
So it's one thing to say,
you're seeing
like,
silver, scarlet, and gray in your dreams.
like a UCF, like Central Florida, like when they had their undefeated season, right? It's one thing to say, oh, they can compete because they went undefeated. They can compete with the big boys.
Well, we saw
But then
Boise
it'll
State
it'll
do
be
it for a few years,
right,
too.
But it'll be so different, though, if you saw UCF go against one of these good, like, they went undefeated, and that was great. But if they go against Ole Miss and get absolutely stomped, then it's like you negate the whole undefeated thing. Because, okay, clearly the level of competition is different between these conferences. Fortunately, UCF actually was one of the teams that
every
did
now
well
and
in their
again,
bowl
though,
game.
Caleb, you have a team stand up. You had who was it, Michigan a couple years ago?
Was it
Appalachian State.
Yeah.
I mean, and they went to Michigan and beat them.
Yeah.
So once it, just like in the NCAA tournament,
And it happens.
These are college athletes.
I mean,
when
with
they
Howard,
can
with
compete.
Howard and UNLV, that happened also. Like Howard came and beat UNLV.
Look at
That's
the
not,
year
that's not
that
as big of a surprise.
It is. It absolutely is. Okay.
Yeah.
We were the heavy favorite. The biggest favorite, I think, on the books in history.
They
the
had
biggest
Cam
upset
Newton's
in
little
history.
brother playing for them.
Where's
But
he at
even
now?
like the year like Western Michigan, right? Western Michigan goes undefeated. They play in, I think, the Orange Bowl or whatever it was against Wisconsin. They beat 2 Big Ten teams that year.
Yeah.
But they beat 2 really bad Big Ten teams. They beat Northwestern and Illinois. So
real quick, on this MAC decision, to tie into UNLV, Armani Rogers actually landed at Ohio, the Bobcats. And he was, I think, in a good position if they would have actually played football to actually do good for himself in his last year. Now they've canceled sports there. They've canceled football.
But now you bring up a good question, and we don't have a ton of time. So
can he renege on his transfer? Like, can he say no? I don't want to transfer.
Well, they should give him a release. They absolutely should give these kids releases.
I think you will see that. The big question is college sports in the spring they awarded their players with an extra year of eligibility. Will that be the case for college football players? Because here's the deal: somebody is going to have to pay for those extra years of scholarships, and that's the biggest problem. I mean, you can't take away a year because their sport was canceled. Well, we're not going to pay for you last year. So how do you do that? And then what about guys if they do a spring league, like some of them are talking about? You got the Ivy League talking about the spring, and you do a spring. Does a guy like Trevor Lawrence, is he completely done playing?
Absolutely.
Why would he play another down of football in the spring and risk everything? So it's going to be interesting how this all pans out, because they are talking about, instead of canceling, looking at a potential spring schedule as well. You kind of follow the Ivy League. The smart guys, they're saying, are doing the right thing, and you're buying yourself more time. But again, these scholarships and the costs, I mean, how does someone squeeze 2 years of scholarship into 1 year? It's all really confusing. We're going to talk about that. But really, guys, I want to get on to the Golden Knights, because
hockey players, as you know, are warriors. They don't give up. They come to play every game.
It's time for Nightcap, a cupful of the Vegas Golden Knights. From highlights to interviews to special events, the puck starts here.
Back ahead, Vegas coming out, 2-on-1, left side Tuck, across the line, he shoots, he scores! Alex Tuck in overtime! Vegas wins it! Top seed for the Golden Knights! Alex Tuck rifles it home from the left circle. The righty buries it inside the top right corner, and the Golden Knights victorious 4-3 over the Avalanche.
Dan Duva on the call on the Vegas Golden Knights radio network. And I'll tell you what, Chris, undefeated in the 3 games they've played in the bubble. And, I'm watching the game, and you're feeling so good about watching this team play. The fact that they're averaging 5 goals a game, they're averaging 3 goals a game in third period if you include overtime in the 1 overtime game. I mean, this team, and this is what you want to see. They've come from behind in their first 2 games, and in this game they blew a lead 3 times and still hung on to find a way to keep the momentum and win the game in the closing seconds of the overtime period. It was exciting as hell. But when I say I watch it with a heavy heart, it's knowing Marc-Andre Fleury is sitting there, and again, he watched this happen to him in Pittsburgh, granted a few years ago, when they brought in Murray, and he saw this, and he was like, and now it's happening again. And Robin Lehner, I mean, it's hard to argue. This guy is one of the best goaltenders in hockey, and now we're coming up and playing his old former team, where you know how special it is to go up against your former team, and team players really play well. Now, Lehner, in this case, wasn't dissed off by his former team. The Vegas Golden Knights paid a heavy price to get him over here, but wow, Marc-Andre Fleury, man, this guy's got to be chomping at the bit and salivating right now. And to think you got a guy like him on the bench when goaltenders are such an integral part of a team to make a run in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the Vegas Golden Knights are set as well as anybody in hockey right now.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Marc-Andre Fleury, and I don't think it's I don't think it's like that with him.
I do. He'll never admit to it.
No, the guy.
On, Chris. He's a competitor and wants to be on the ice.
I've been around the guy long enough to kind of grasp his personality. He wants to win. He wants to win at all costs, and he knows that he's going to have an opportunity to help this team win. They're not just going to play Robin Lehner through every game on their way to, if they go all the way to the Stanley Cup final. It's not going to happen. Marc-Andre Fleury is going to be part of this team, and if they're going to win the Stanley Cup, Marc-Andre Fleury is going to play a role in that. He's already played a role in that in the regular season, putting them in position to be where they're at. I tweeted out yesterday, March 9th, they played at Edmonton. They won that game in overtime. They got 2 points in that game. In the reality of the situation, it was worth 11 points. Because what that win did, it put them in the round robin where they would have been out. Edmonton would have been in the round robin instead of them. Edmonton, gone. They went home. They lost already in 4 games to Chicago.
Unbelievable.
Finito.
And we talked
Done.
about it last week because it was like a shock that they won that first game the way they did, and then they kept winning. It's crazy. That's how hockey
is
though.
crazy,
Like,
especially as good as Connor McDavid is playing right now.
Well, the reality is they don't have much else. They have Draisaitl, McDavid.
Yeah.
They don't have a ton else. Their goaltending isn't very good.
No, that's the killer of this team because Draisaitl, McDavid, I'll tell you what, you want to talk about 2 monsters on a hockey team.
And here's the scary thing. Pittsburgh, gone. Done.
Yeah.
Finito. Thanks for showing up. Get your ass out of the bubble.
St. Louis doesn't
and
look
that's
good.
literally what it is. Get out of the bubble.
St. Louis doesn't. Well, St. Louis is, and here's the interesting thing. For the Golden Knights, the best case scenario today is St. Louis beats Dallas.
Yeah.
Because that means you're not playing St. Louis or the Avalanche until
the
Western Conference Finals. And those 2 teams are going to beat the crap out of each other, St. Louis and Colorado. But here's the other thing. They reseed after every round. So hypothetically, the Golden Knights will play Chicago. If things break right for them, they could play Arizona in the second round.
No, and I was just going to say that you're handing Colorado this series victory over the Arizona Coyotes.
It is no guarantee.
This is a team right now, and we always talk about Stanley Cup playoffs goaltending.
Darcy
Arizona
Kemper
has a goaltender that can get as hot as anybody in the National Hockey League. Here's the thing: Kemper is ridiculously good.
He's better than the goalies for Colorado.
I agree 100%.
If Arizona gets goals,
that's the key. They got to score
Taylor
goals.
Hall, Phil Kessel, those guys need to step up. But I'll tell you what, that is not an easy series for the Avalanche. They are going to be tested in that series. They're young. They've got a lot of speed, but Arizona can match their speed.
Yeah. Going back to Marc-Andre Fleury, because it's interesting to me because this is the first time that we've had a pro sports team where we've had a beloved member of the team, a beloved player, because Fleury is a part of the Vegas community.
And you're right, Caleb.
So
when you say beloved, I don't know of a sports athlete in any town right now that you could say is more beloved than Marc-Andre Fleury here in Las Vegas.
How does the community, how do the fans handle the fact that we've been so close with Fleury and we fell in love with him over the past couple of seasons? How do we handle him not being the one between the pipes?
I think the thing is a lot of fans here in Vegas, they've all come from other cities. And they've all seen this before. Whether it's football, your franchise quarterback, like if you're from Northern California, you watched Joe Montana lead your team to 3 Super Bowls?
Oh yeah,
and then 4 Super Bowls. I'm sorry. Then they trade him away to a team that you could care less about.
Yeah,
and he hands the torch to Steve Young.
Yeah,
I mean here's the thing. I have no idea if Robin Lehner's going to be a part of this team next year. So that's why you have to make Fleury part of this, because if you are unable to sign Robin Lehner, what you've done to Marc-Andre Fleury, and that's what makes it so fascinating, if they don't win the Stanley Cup and they don't re-sign Robin Lehner, but Robin Lehner is the number 1 goalie throughout the playoffs, how do you go back to Fleury?
No, it would be really tough, Chris. And, it's crazy that we're even talking about this because Marc-Andre Fleury, like we said, we thought it would be Lehner waiting in the wings for Fleury because it's his team. Yeah. But Caleb, to answer your question real quickly before we go to break, and to say it in my opinion, the way this is handled is it's just like when you remember, Chris, when Ryan Reeves came to town and fans are going, oh my God, he's going to upset the chemistry of this team. And you know what? Winning cures everything. The Vegas Golden Knights sweeps the Chicago Blackhawks 4-0, and Leonard's in net every night. Marc-Andre Fleury, they'll still be wearing his jerseys, but they're all going to want Leonard in goal. And trust me, the minute Fleury goes into goal and has a bad game, then the
fans will turn
in a heartbeat. It's all about winning, and that's what it's about. But it's going to be very interesting. The Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm loving this. I really am, and it's not bothering me as much as I thought it would. Without the fans out there, they still get really excited. And I will tell you, that goal you heard by Alex Tuch was so quality. It wasn't funny. They went on a 2-on-1. You thought for sure he was going to give up the puck on a give and go, and he didn't. He held on to it and threw it over the left shoulder unbelievable goal and unbelievable win in the waning seconds. And like I said, what's great about this team is nothing more do you want to see when it comes playoff time than your team able to come back and overcome adversity, both the first two games to come back and win. And then how about this game against Colorado? Without question, one of the best teams in the National Hockey League this year. And they have 3 different leads on this team, and they blow every one, including that very late goal in the third period where that's a momentum changer, Chris. When a team scores a goal on you late, it's like, oh, man, we had it. And the Golden Knights just have this incredible intestinal fortitude to be able to get over that. They use overtime. They use momentum. And many times in this game, I thought they were being outworked at times, but somehow they get the big save by Leonard. They'll get a big play by Mark Stone, who, my God, if you don't hear what Chris said a couple of weeks ago, how this guy is the most underrated and one of the best damn players in hockey. Watch him play. One of the best two-way players. He puts the puck in the net. He helps you immensely on the penalty kill, and there might not be a better power play skater in the National Hockey League than Mark Stone. He deserves the C, Chris, and I hope they eventually give it to him. I really do. Listen, we got to take a break. On the other side, we are going to have former Raider, hopefully Rod Martin. We'll get him on the line, and also coming up a little bit later, Justin Lowe of Fence and Light. You definitely want to hear about this product. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio. About 8:33 Sunday morning, Fox Sports Radio, 98.9 FM, 1340 AM, flagship of the Vegas Golden Knights and sister station of Raider Nation Radio now. 9:20 AM is officially Raider Nation Radio. Some great shows over there. JT the Brick Mag's pretty cool. We're in the game.
If you are a Raider fan and you're not listening to 9:20 AM, you're not a Raider fan. I mean, that's really the way to look at it. I mean, first of all, we get calls every day because I produce the show with Scott Gobranson, Silver and Black today. Scott Gobranson and your boy Q, they do a great job. I mean, we get calls all over the country. People from South Carolina calling in, people from Texas, people from all over. We had a guy from New Mexico the other day. We had
Raiders really have a cult-like following.
Well,
they really
the crazy
do.
thing is we had a guy from Boston the other day call in, and he's like, heavy Boston accent. He's like, I hate the Patriots. He's like, Tom Brady's a scumbag. He fumbled.
Wow. This guy's my new favorite person.
I love it. I'm like, this is awesome. He's like,
you would definitely like it.
He said Franco Harris didn't make the catch. He goes, no. He goes, so if you're a Raider fan, you're not listening. You're not a Raider fan.
Hey, if you're a Raider fan and you're listening to this show right now, you're going to be pretty happy. You're familiar with the name Roderick Darrell Martin, or how about just Rod Martin? Super Bowl hero, 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Oakland and Raiders back in the 80s, and also part of the Los Angeles Raiders when they made a quick transition to L.A. for a couple years. Rod Martin did something in Super Bowl 15 that no one did before and no one has done since. And Rod gets to pop champagne after pretty much every Super Bowl like Mercury Morris, not for the Raiders having an undefeated season, but because he had 3 interceptions in one game. And Rod, first of all, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Thank you, fellas. Good to be here.
Oh, man, love having you on. And I still look back on that Super Bowl, and you can't see me right now. Normally we're on Facebook Live and YouTube and we're videotaping, but our media relations director is in Pahrump with a double eye infection and waiting a COVID test, so he's not part of it. So we're not on video, so you can't see that I'm wearing a throwback Jim Plunkett jersey right now. But, Rod, I should be wearing a Rod Martin jersey. I thought they got the MVP of that Super Bowl wrong.
Yeah, well, you should have been wearing 2 jerseys today.
That's right.
So, I mean, if you go back and look back to those years, and you remember the Cowboys had Randy White and Too Tall, and I think it was Too Tall, and they were both co-MVPs of the Super Bowl. And and I was thinking maybe possibly it could happen again. But it never happened since then.
That would have been really cool if you would have had an offensive and a defensive player both being MVP. That's definitely never happened.
That would have been really cool. I think the most important thing out of that, you got the cover of Sports Illustrated for that, though. So I think that's a win in itself, right?
Oh, no doubt. It really is. All over the world, for sure.
No, number 53 became legendary that game, and I remember watching it. And I'll tell you what, man, Ron Jaworski kept finding Rod Martin. He's just wearing the wrong jersey. Rod, did you ever imagine playing for the Raiders in L.A. and, of course, in Oakland, which is really their home base for so many years, that there would be a team called the Las Vegas Raiders and they'd be moving to Sin City?
possibly I had just a inkling of what was going on, because back in those days also, if we didn't make it to the Super Bowl, we would go to Las Vegas and the casinos and have fun and just enjoying ourselves, and so we were aware of it, of course, being so close to where Vegas was. But I never really had, the thought that it was going to come to fruition, and so it finally did. And we should have had a team in Oakland when I got drafted, and up there, it was so long a time ago that, it was just, it should have been there way before then. It should have been there after we won Super Bowl 15, and then definitely should have been, our own city with our own stadium and the whole bit, man. And that's what really fires the fans up too. Don't know that they come into their home like we're coming to our home.
Yeah, so you were part of the team's transition, so you know what it's like for the organization and the players to pick up and move, essentially, to build a fan base in one community and then have to pick it up and move it somewhere else. We talked about how the Raiders fans are pretty much a fraternity nationwide, but for fans that don't really get a peek into that, what is it like to have to all of a sudden pick up and move your family potentially and move to a new community and figure things out in a new place like that?
Well, it was tough, of course. We were motivated. We had just won the Super Bowl 15, and we thought it was going to be in Oakland the whole time, and Al Davis came to us and said, "Well, fellas, we're moving to Los Angeles." And I had a private conversation with him, and I said, "Mr. Davis," I said, I fell in love with the Oakland Raiders, when I was in college, and I always wanted to be a Raider. And I said, I thought I'd be playing in Oakland still. He said, "Well, son, I'm signing your check in L.A." I said, "Okay, I'm going, period. I'm going with you for sure." Even though I grew up in L.A., but, Oakland was something special, you guys, and some people still call us the Oakland Raiders, even though we're, going on to other places. But it was just a great time, man, to be a part of that group of guys who won Super Bowl 11, and the great Willie Brown, my mentor, the assassin, and Raymond Chester, all those guys. It was just the talent. Gene Upshaw, Art Shell, you could just go on and on and on with that group of guys. And Clarence Davis, Clarence was another one that should have won the Super Bowl. MVP, when he had hit that great season in Super Bowl 11. In Super Bowl 11.
So many. I'm sorry, Rod. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just so many things, man. The Raider Nation know all about it. They come and tell me about stuff that I had forgotten about, and so they just have that love for the silver and black, man. And our motto was like that, Jack was telling me we'd go out and have rides between training camp and go up to Bodega Bay, and we'd be talking and on our break time. And Jack told me one thing. He says, Rod, you're on this team now, and the way the Raiders are, we take no mess in it from nobody, and we got to be aggressive, and and we take no prisoners. We kill them all. And that's the bottom line. So that's the attitude and the temperament that we had back in those days. And if we get fined, so be it. I've had fines put on me, but Al Davis paid for them. Okay, this is great. We're going to keep doing this.
There's something about the Raider mystique, no question about it. And I read the book, The Assassin, of course, the late, great Jack Tatum, made famous by the hit to Darryl Stingley of the Patriots years ago. But Jack Tatum and Steve Atkinson had this thing going, and they had a point system. George Atkinson, excuse me, correct. George. And they had a system going where they would literally, if you knocked a player out for a play, if you knocked them out for the game and you got points, and at the end of the season they tallied it up and they had some kind of prize they gave each other, and boy, it was ferocious going up against race. What was it like? And that brings my point to you again, and also talk about a chance of making it and things like this year and COVID-19. Rod Martin, you wonder, what kind of chance would you have had when you first joined the NFL? You were drafted in the 12th round, the 317th pick. If you didn't have a preseason, Rod, to show your wares like these players aren't getting this year because of this, how much would that have affected your – that could have changed everything. You might not even have had an NFL career.
Absolutely. I'd been looking for work somewhere else, in the world, But yeah, I mean, this COVID is unbelievable, man. I mean, when it first came out, we were just, saying, "Oh, it's not going to last long." And first of all, we can't see it to attack it. That's the main thing. We always like to attack folks. Anything that's coming being negative, we like to attack it. You can't attack it. You got to try to do the smart stuff, whatever the scientists are telling us to do. Especially in my young age, I got to listen to them. For sure.
No, it's crazy. Insane times that we're living in. We are, of course, talking to Rod Martin, former Oakland Raider and now alumni. Rod will actually be in town from what I heard. I got a text message from Bert Tabor this morning saying that you're going to be in town on Thursday for a tailgate, and there's going to be an article being done in the Las Vegas Review-Journal, so looking forward to that, my friend. Before I definitely want to talk about that. Before I let you go, though, I wanted to ask you two things. One, what do you think of the brand new stadium in Las Vegas?
Well, I'm happy we got a stadium. It's called the Raider Stadium. I mean, even though they put everything handled to it, that would be the Raider Stadium, and it's hopefully the guys would have that more respect to do the history, man, to go back and see what we went through and everything, and that's your home away from home, and you got to go in there and be vicious and make sure nobody else is going to come in there and mess up your stadium, and I hope they understand that. I hope the young guys understand that, and they get together and they listen to former players, like we listen to the guys that came before us, and when we got drafted in 70, my group of guys got drafted in 76, we were the nucleus of the next two Super Bowl wins, so that they motivated us to get that, have that attitude. And I remember they had the party for winning Super Bowl 11, and, they got the Super Bowl rings and everything, and they just were going around flashing it in our face and stuff, And so that was another motivating factor, man, and the young kids, they don't do the history of the game where we played. And I wish more of them now do that, so that would make it a lot better for them.
Now, the Raiders have a culture in the NFL like no other, and they've always known for bringing players that seem to be past their prime, and the Raiders seem to get a couple more years out of them. Jimmy Plunkett, I call, whenever I hear the word Cinderella, I don't think of Walt Disney. I think of Jim Plunkett because he is the true Cinderella, a guy that was done. His knees were washed up. He was done. He was an afterthought and wasn't even supposed to be the starter when he went to Oakland, and the guy ended up leading him to 2 Super Bowls. Pretty incredible story. Rod Martin, final question for you, man. What does it mean to you to be a Raider?
Oh, it means everything to me. I mean, I go around and people might not know the face, but when I wear my uniforms around, it's like an alumni shirt or a Raider shirt. Somebody always asks something about it. And the day I had my rings on, and that was just, people just lighten up just to see them, man, and it's a great feeling, it's a great feeling, man, that they appreciate and they love it. They love football, first of all, and then find out that you're a Raider. They really, really love it, and that's the way, it was supposed to go as far as we were concerned as well, because we wanted to make our fans and people, our family, proud of us. That was hard work, man. We went out there and, the league has changed a lot now, and so we just put it out on the line, our bodies and our everything on the line, and we just went out there and remember what the boys said. We got my boys is before us says, you got to be aggressive out there. You don't, somebody's gonna roll you over. So and that's the attitude we had, man.
Yeah, aggressiveness.
Great.
Aggressiveness was the culture. Yeah, aggressiveness was the culture of the Raiders, and really Rod Martin, one of the historic faces of the Oakland Raiders, and again 3 interceptions in a Super Bowl. Rod, I'll be shocked if we ever see that record beaten, maybe even never tied. Incredible. We really appreciate you joining the show and look forward to seeing you out here on Thursday.
Thank you guys for sure. I'll see you Thursday then.
Former Raider Rod Martin. Listen, we're going to take our final break. We're coming back on the other side with Justin Lowe, the CEO founder of Finson Light. All right, we're back out of line. Fox Sports Radio, 98.9 FM, 1340 AM, flagship of the Vegas Golden Knights, number 1 seed in the Western Conference, thanks to yesterday's 4-3 overtime win over the Colorado Avalanche. Looking forward to that. They will be taking on the Chicago Blackhawks in the first round of the playoffs, and I believe the playoffs start on Tuesday. It's going to be pretty exciting. All right, joining us right now, a guy I had on my show that I do on Friday nights on another station, the Real Estate Mortgage Show, and this guy, seriously, is a cleaning and sanitation expert. Right now, there's no better time to have something like this go on. He's going to talk to us also why the NBA bubble is so safe, but he is the CEO, I should say the founder of Finson Light, a product that we have sanitized our entire office with. It is so cool. You just have to be careful not to go in the office while it's doing its thing. Justin, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, Bryan, how are you?
Oh, we're doing good. We don't have Spencer today with us, so we couldn't do our StreamYard, our YouTube, and all of our video stuff. Poor Spencer's at home waiting the results of a COVID-19 test, and both of his eyes swollen shut for some reason. So we told him to stay the hell out of the studio. Whatever he has, we love him, but we don't want it. So, and I don't think the Finson Light can help Spencer's eyes. I'm not sure if it can. We'll go home and shine it on him. But talk to me about this incredible product. You talked about the other show and how this really is helping to change the sanitation or the way America thinks of sanitation right now when it is so vital in the world that we live in.
Yeah, so Finson Light is basically UVC light that helps business owners sterilize surfaces and the air. So one of the major features about it is that it's a reliable technology that's been used for decades in the hospital industry, but Finson Light kind of packaged it in a more affordable and portable way for businesses. So it basically helps you sterilize surfaces better.
And it's not just businesses, Justin, it's homes. Like, we're sanitizing our office. We got done doing it. During the weekend is what we're doing. We put it in different rooms. We'll go in and change it around, and it's really cool. And we're telling people, like, our office, you can pretty much eat off the floor right now. We still make you wear a mask when you come in because we can't Finson Light you personally, but it is a really safer feeling and a safer environment in our office. What makes this product so special and so safe?
Primarily the fact is that we're certified to hit the germicidal UVC wavelength that's required to actually deactivate viruses, bacteria, and dangerous microbes that might be on surfaces in the air. So Finson Light is a highly certified product. We use Philips germicidal UV bulbs to take it to the next level. So everything about our product is very high quality, and you're right, it's for homes too, but right now our big priority is helping businesses sterilize better.
Yeah, which is something gigantic. And talk to me, and that kind of is a good segue into the NBA. One of the safest bubbles that we've had right now is the NBA and the way we're doing it. We see it in the NHL too, where they've got 2 hub cities. NBA 1, why is this working, and what are they doing that's keeping the environment so safe and so COVID-19 free?
Well, I think there's a lot of variables that go into answering that question 100% accurately, but I think it has a lot to do with whether or not the league is doing a centralized effort with each team, or if they're leaving it up to the team ownership to determine how they're going to be sterilizing their locker rooms, so on and so forth. So I think it really depends on the overall league strategy on how they're streamlining the information to the teams and kind of putting in mandatory rules. But I think that all the teams right now, from what I've been seeing, are trying to advance what they're doing, but seems like they may have been a little bit late to the game in some areas.
Yeah, for sure. Luckily, they've been on time in some areas too, which is why it's keeping it going. But something like Fence and Light can change the culture of every sport and every environment. Obviously, for the indoor environment, which is where we're closest and where we have to practice social distancing. Real quickly, Justin, final question. I want to know how Fence and Light works, and secondly, as far as setting it up, and secondly, how if you're a business owner or a residential homeowner that is interested, how they can go about finding Fence and Light and getting one for themselves.
Yeah, so it's real simple to set up. You basically just place it within any area that you want the light to hit surfaces. So wherever the light hits surfaces or the air, it's going to sterilize it and remove any contamination within 100 square feet of the light. So you just got to strategically place it wherever you think it's best for your business or home. And again, it's really easy. You just go to fenceandlight.com and you can order yours online today. It's available. Everything's shipping from Canada, so you don't have any shipping delays or anything like that.
Fence and Light, it's Finsen, and is that correct? Fence and Light. And
that's right.
Sure
yeah.
Go to fenceandlight.com. You can text us too at the show too. I'll get you information and get you all hooked up. Justin was kind enough to send me one, and like I said, it's been really cool. Sanitizing and sterilizing our offices. You put it in, you leave, and then you got a little remote control so you can shut it off before you actually walk back in the office. Because the rays are very harmful to humans. Why wouldn't they be? When again, it's completely sanitizing the office. He's Justin Lowe, founder of Fence and Light. Appreciate you joining the show, Justin.
No, thank you.
Absolutely. We'll get him on my other show as well. Hey, listen, guys, wrapping up, got a couple more minutes. I did want to, speaking of the NBA, I did want to talk about the NBA bubble just a little bit and what's going on there. Pretty exciting basketball. And I don't know, Caleb, if you got to see the game yesterday. We talked about it briefly during the break. But that game yesterday between the Dallas Mavericks and the Milwaukee Bucks was unbelievable. I mean, Milwaukee, the best team in basketball. And Luka Doncic just continues to amaze me every time I watch this guy. He's 21 years old, and I forget it. He looks a little older. He looks like he could be 25. But, I mean, he's 21 years old, and he plays like he's in the prime of his career. And to think, Caleb, this guy is just going to keep getting better.
Yeah, he's going to go for 10 years.
Where's the ceiling on him?
Yeah, it's crazy because I think his game has matured. Usually with guys in the NBA, you see there's a learning curve that you have to go through when you first come in. A couple years, usually with the special guys like LeBron, maybe you come and hit the ground running, and you see where his career ends up 17 years later. But Luka's in a situation, and this is a lot of guys that are coming from overseas. Whether or not they're good enough is a different question, but at least their game has matured because they're playing since their professional career, since they're 16 years old. So when they come over to the NBA, they're already a mature pro basketball player. And Luka is a special player, but he's also just a mature basketball player. He understands his body, he understands himself, he understands the game in a different way than most 21-year-olds that are coming out of college do. And you see some of the special things he does, like the way he manipulates the game, manipulates the court at such a young age. This guy's going to be unstoppable. And in pairing him with Porzingis, the Mavericks are going to be a tough out. They're hitting their stride at the perfect time.
Right now.
And it's great to watch this game and to watch them, especially against the Bucks, who, like you said, have been the best team in the NBA for arguably 2.5 years, a year and a half with Giannis there. But to watch the way he plays the game, he should be in consideration every year in his career for the MVP if he continues on this track.
17 triple-doubles dating back to the beginning of the season. He's already had three of the most, 19 assists. It's a career high, most against Milwaukee versus anyone this season, and tied for the most in the NBA this season. Triple-doubles, he is leading the league, the youngest player ever to do so. Luka Doncic, man, is the real deal. Hey, listen, this is Out of Line. We're here every Sunday morning, same time, 8 o'clock. Join us next week. Got some special guests coming your way then as well. I'm Bryan Feldman. Of course, my co-host Caleb Herring, the guy behind the wheels of steel. Chris Chapman, and at home in quarantine. Get those eyes better. We have our intern, Spencer Trosky, the only intern with his own theme music. Once again, check us out at Outta Line, LV Sports, and we'll be back next week, same time, same place. I want to thank Rod Martin. I want to thank Justin Lowe. We're out. Bye-bye.